Hey guys. Okay, so today I'm back at it with another original story. This one I wrote for a friend, and it was a while ago. I think this was maybe my sophomore year of high school. Yeah, my sophomore year of high school when I wrote this. Um, and okay, so I'll just jump into it. Sarah. Lemony yellow drops of dew-like sunlight dripped down the side of the glass pane. I watched as some of the droplets slipped down leisurely, joining with others in their path to become a larger drop. They left watery streaks in the glass as they fell, blurring my view of the cotton candy sky with its wispy clouds. The sun was a bright stroke of peach paint on the horizon, steadily growing larger and brighter as it lit the world in hues of tangerine, dandelion, and pale, soft, buttery gold. They cast about the room, leaving horizontal shadows on the wall and across my face from the blinds. Turning quietly, I glanced at the huddled figure next to me, sleeping soundly, wrapped mummy-like in the tangled ivory sheets, with limbs tucked close in fetal position. Long strands of her silk-fine hair lay splayed out on her pillow, striping it with pale blonde and rosy chestnut brown. Some of the locks fell into her face, and I gingerly tucked them behind her ear. She smiled in her sleep, but did not rouse. I sighed happily as I continued my peaceful observation of my sleeping beauty. Her skin was smooth and warm, with a small scar here and there, or a freckle or two, but other than that, there were no flaws to be seen. It was a rich, even tan color, reminding me of the cinnamon and sugar when mixed together. Not too pale and not too dark. Her eyes, though closed, were still just as beautiful, with her long dark lashes brushing her subtle cheeks. I knew that when those eyes opened, I would be greeted with the warmth of their earth and glory, mossy greens and browns mixing together with hints of gray and blue. I traced a finger over the sweeping dip of her cheek with barely there touches. Memories from last night flooded my mind and carried me away into their blithering waves. I remember the comforting warmth of bare skin grazing affectionately, and the sparks ignited in my heart as each one brushed by. The effects both soothed and excited me, but I didn't press, and instead chose to relish in the slowness of our activity, and put as much love into my hushed words and gentle touches as I could. Our kisses held promises of more, as well as silent messages of love, that this was where we were supposed to be, and this is what we were supposed to be doing. We held each other close through all our love-making, though we're in emotional agreement that being apart was almost suicidal in its right. In the end, we cried our broken cries, left with half-moon crescents and purple orchid bruises, then lied down, wrapped in loving arms and tender embraces. Sleep fell over her, and her light pants turned to muffled sighs, and I watched her sleeping for a while until the high moon, when sleep ushered me with night's lullabies, and darkness enfolded my thoughts. Now, with daybreak approaching steadily, I continued to watch my beloved in such peaceful hours of the day, wondering how I could have become so lucky as to have such a lovely creature as my own. I was skeptical of what it all meant straight from the beginning. I cherished every moment with her and stored them away in my memory for safekeeping. We took things slow until I could adjust, and then we made that giant leap, that decision to move on, to make the next step and discover a whole new side to the sculpture we'd been staring at for so long. What I thought had been a God-given gift before turned into an even bigger, happier surprise. Infatuation overtook me, and I was a love-struck teenager again, vying for some sort of recognition. I knew then that I wanted her to be in my life forever, and that I'd never let her go. I worked up the courage and bought a ring. It wasn't over the top or even that expensive, but I knew, somehow I knew, that she'd still love it. She's wearing it now, its white gold a stark comparison to her sun-kissed skin, the square-cut diamond reflecting little rainbows across her face. I presented the ring to our two families and got approval, and then I gained even more courage to ask her the big question. I had taken her to our favorite place to eat, then brought her to a quiet park. The sun was beginning to give way to the night, the inky black bleeding into the last of the watery gold and grays of the sky, with a few tiny lights sparkling far above our heads. We stopped at a pond with blooming honeysuckle and water lilies, and I got down on my knees, presenting her with my gift. Tears sparkled in her mossy eyes, and she grinned from ear to ear. She nodded and cried out happily when I scooped her into my arms and kissed her passionately. I sat her down and slipped the ring onto her finger where it fit perfectly and looked just as good. I went home a very happy man. The wedding was a year and a half after, and was a beautiful celebration. We invited all our close friends and family, and danced until our feet were numb and exhausted. Now 3 years later, we're still happily in love. Every day is a new day. I learn something else about her, something else to love. Like how when she's thinking, her eyebrows knit together slightly, and she squints her eyes to imagine what it is she's thinking about. Or when she smiles, little creases appear at the sides of her full pink lips, and she uses her teeth to smile so brightly it could melt anyone's heart. Every time she laughs, she throws her head back ever so slightly, and it's like her laughter just takes over her for a moment, becoming so contagious. I loved it all. I loved it all so, so, so much. And there we go. That was my short story, Sarah. I think, because I mentioned that I wrote this for a friend, he had a crush on this girl, and, so I was like, I'm just gonna imagine for him, or, take something that he might imagine and turn it into a story for him, which is both, happy but also sad, because it never happened. So I think he still has a small crush on her, but she's got a boyfriend, and obviously we're graduated from high school, so different paths and all that. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the story, and I'll see you next time.